Apirana Taylor was my husband. He was the violent husband, and I'd been abused. Me and my daughter were, well, I was being abused by him, and I was concerned about my daughter. So that was, you know, it was an interesting role. It certainly, I mean, it seemed to be kind of, around that time, Māori roles, particularly women, the ones that were available certainly seemed to be victims, I think. And thank goodness that's changed. You know, it was a lead role, and I just had never thought that I'd get something like that. I mean, I have to say, I was completely out of my comfort zone and didn't really know what I was doing. I remember, you know, when the cameras weren't on us and they were on Lawrence Makori, I think he was one of the gang members. I remember the cameras being on us, and we just sort of standing there like that. I mean, I really didn't know what the kind of, you know, etiquette was on a set, on a television or film set. So yeah, it was trial by fire, and I feel really embarrassed about, you know, some of the mistakes I made as well. So, but you know, it was a wonderful experience, and I remember Jeanette MacDonald was the producer, and she was just fabulous to have around and very encouraging, and yeah, it was nice. It was a nice time. Whale Rider was, and still is, one of my most favourite experiences, really. So we all had to go and live in Gisborne, and you know, a lot of the film was shot in Whangarā. And the people there were just beautiful, and they were so welcoming. And, you know, I remember sitting around on set, and all the aunties would be there looking at the monitor, sitting next to Nikki and weaving and talking. And it was just this wonderful experience, wonderful environment. You know, all the cast were just gorgeous. The crew were fantastic. They were such a neat bunch of people. And I think the majority of them were Pākehā, but they were deeply respectful of tikanga and of the people of that place. And, you know, there was some good friendships made. I enjoyed very much working with Nikki. I thought she's a beautiful director. She's very generous and hard when she needs to be, firm when she needs to be. But, you know, she gives very good, clear direction. Which I really appreciate, and seeing her and Leon Nabi working together was very interesting. They had such a great relationship. You know, I remember thinking that this, you know, that's what it should look like, a director and a DOP, because, you know, the DOP would say, Leon would say, I think we should shoot it this way, and Nikki would say, well, I'd really like to shoot it this way, and so they'd shoot it both ways, you know. And I thought, there you go, that's a really good DOP director relationship in progress, you know, a good one. It was a lot of fun. There was a whole lot of feisty women there, all gathered together. The green room was hilarious, you know, when we were all waiting around, and because, you know, as you know, on TV land, you do 5 eps in one day. So we'd all be gathered, even though it would look like we were on Monday or a Tuesday, we were all, you know, gathered together on the one day and filming, and it was, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I mean, some of the letters that came in, you know, were genuinely worrying, and I only hope that we actually helped. That would be my only concern there. It was Taika's first feature film. It's certainly one of my favourite films that I've worked on. I just love Taika's humour. It's so offbeat and dry, and you know, I really love seeing a half-caste family, Pākehā father, Māori mother. And the half-caste kids, and being, you know, disconnected from their culture and living in the burbs. And there's a lot of families around like that, you know, we don't often hear those stories. But they're still Māori. You know, it's still a Māori story as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. And, you know, Lauren and Jermaine are just, you know, they're fantastic. I was actually the acting coach for all the kids on that job, and I also had the role of Auntie Gracie, who had all the jobs. I loved her. She was a great character. You know, it's always a joy working with Taika. He's a lot of fun. And there's been, you know, some criticism about the glorification of poverty, but I genuinely believe that Taika wanted to show the beauty, you know, just because there's not a lot of money, you know, paper money around, doesn't necessarily mean you can't live a rich life. Again, it was another extraordinary experience. We got to stay on the marae there, Pararaki, and me and the kids lived together on the marae for around about 3 months, just maybe under 3 months. No, it was about 3 months. And we had a great time. You know, we became pretty close, pretty quick. Māori films come under a lot of criticism, and really, you know, film should be judged on what the heart of it is. And I think there was a great, you know, a profound heart central to the story of Boy. It was also, you know, it was very sad. I mean, there was a lot of humour and laughter and wonderful characters, but yeah, there was a great deal of sadness. You had the father dealing with his grief, and you had, you know, the elder son dealing with his grief of the loss of his father, the loss of his family unit. White Lies was a very intense experience. Dana is a very passionate and intense director. We were all on our toes. Again, at the heart of the story is something quite profound. It's based, you know, around the time when tohunga were made, you know, the practices of tohunga were made illegal, and there was a whole lot of land confiscation going on all over the country, but this film is based in Tūhoe country. One of the great things about it is that, you know, I think it's around about 70 or 80% te reo, which in te reo, so you know, that's something to be celebrated a great deal. And Whirimako Black's first time, and I think she did a great job. And yeah, again, it was there was a feeling, you know, on set and amongst us all, for want of a better word, not a burden, but certainly a responsibility that we all had in the telling of this story. So, yeah, it's definitely not a blockbuster, but there is some, you know, it has some real integrity to it. Working with Gayleen was wonderful. I really enjoyed it. You know, she's a very generous soul, and a real socialist at heart. And she's not afraid of putting her politics out there, which I think is really brave. Here we were in Christchurch 2 years after the earthquakes had happened. And the grief is still apparent, and the devastation is still very apparent just looking around the land. It took me a couple of weeks to stop crying. Every day I'd see something or I'd hear a story, and you know, I think one of the reasons Gayleen wanted to tell the story as well is to give a bit more of an insight. You know, the great thing about drama is that it's accessible, and there's a bit of distance to it, I suppose, so you can kind of sit back and deal with it in a slightly different way than from, you know, documentary or media footage. And I think she really wanted people to see, you know, to kind of have a sense of people, Kiwi, everyday people, and what it was that they had to deal with in their lives, and how much the earthquakes Christchurch earthquakes affected them and their family and their day-to-day existence, and what it is that they're having to still deal with now, politically and financially. So I felt very proud to be a part of that.